Welcome everybody to the fourth in our series of seminars designed to help us address the needs of our veteran students. We are pleased to have a panel of folks who are here to more answer questions than present information today. We're going to change the format a little bit. In the past we had panelists gave discussions first and then ask questions, but today we're going to have an opportunity for you to ask questions. I've got some questions to ask. If you don't generate enough questions, I'll generate some myself. And so I will introduce my panelists. But before I do, I want to, first of all, thank Dr. Fisher for the Dean of Basic Applied Sciences for providing the refreshments today. We want to make sure we drink them all the drinks, and eat all the cookies. Eat all the cookies. Please take advantage of the food. And if you see Dr. Fisher, please thank him for providing refreshments for us. Second, I want to call your attention to some books that are over here on the table. This is a set of poetry that was written by our veteran students over the last 3 years that has been put together. We had a reading. Thank you. How about a reading? We had a reading last Wednesday in the Center for the Arts in Murfreesboro, and these are available for you to pick up. I can tell you there's some really good stuff in here. This has been a great project, so please help yourself to read these. And without further ado, I want to introduce our panelists to everyone. To my, in fact, those of you who are listening to this, this is not video, this is only recorded, so I'm not going to give you left and right. I'm just going to tell you that the first person I'm going to introduce is Heather Conrad. Heather is our Vet Success on Campus representative from the VA. Next person in line is Kim Holden. She is the Women's Health Program Manager at the VA in Nashville. In Murfreesboro, I apologize. In Murfreesboro. Next is Crystal August. Crystal is one of our veteran students here on campus. And last but not least is Mary Kay Anderson. She is the Associate Director of our counseling services here on campus. So we've got folks representing basically everything we could think of in the whole area between campus and the VA system here on campus in Murfreesboro. So again, our topic of discussion today is basically how can we address our students better with a viewpoint of mental health counseling or assistance that they might need. And I'm going to start and ask the first question that I think is on a lot of faculty members' minds, which is how can we identify students who may benefit from counseling services here on campus. And the follow-up to that is, once I identify the student, how do I get them to take advantage of the services that are available not only here on campus but within the VA system for a lot of these veterans. So I'm going to throw this open to the whole panel and see who wants to answer first, but I think those are pretty common questions that I hear around campus.
I'll start. I'm Heather Conrad. I've been on campus now full-time for just over a year. And Vet Success on Campus, actually MTSU, you've probably heard this before, but I'll brag a little bit. MTSU is the first school in the state of Tennessee and the 14th nationally that has adopted this program, and basically it's a collaboration between VA and MTSU to ensure our veterans' success on campus. That's our main goal. We want our veterans to not only graduate, but we want them to get jobs. So what some faculty might see in their classroom, professors, faculty, might see in their classrooms, and a way that you might just identify a veteran is usually they are a little bit older. They're usually sitting around the edges. They need to see the door. They don't want to sit in the middle of the class, typically. And also, I think it's really important to identify veterans in your class, and we're coming up with ideas right now on how you can do that more successfully. We've been working on writing a statement that if you choose to put on your syllabus, maybe a little asterisk at the end of your syllabus stating, I'm a veteran-friendly teacher or professor. My husband's a teacher, sorry. I'm a veteran-friendly professor, faculty member, and please, something to the extent of please feel comfortable to come to me with your issues or concerns or any that you may have that, anything you say to me is 100% confidential. And maybe that will set, veterans' minds at ease and make them feel more comfortable if they do have an issue in class, or maybe they need a small accommodation. So just come to you or email you and say, hey, this would really help me. So we're in the process of working on that. And it's important to understand who those veterans are, because you got to be careful about the kinds of politically charged conversations that might pop up in class. And just understand that they may have a sensitivity to that. And then, you'll see a lot of veterans kind of isolate sometimes, start to disappear. I've had 2 instances in the last month where and this is a success story about these series, and forgive me if I go a little off on a tangent here, but I think it's important. About 3 weeks ago, a professor noticed that a veteran was starting to self-isolate, and he was getting bullied by a non-veteran student. The professor noticed that he was in trouble psychologically. He was seeming unstable, so the professor contacted the dean. The dean contacted the head of counseling services, and that person contacted me. There is confidentiality issues. We all understand that. I'm not going to call up this veteran and say, you know what, your professor noticed this and went to your dean, and dean went to counseling, and now you got to come see me. It's not like that at all. But we can offer that veteran resources, and we can give that veteran the option of reaching out to me. It just so happened with this particular veteran that I knew him already, so still held his confidentiality in mind, but I reached out to him, and maybe that will help, and I think that's a success story, because that's what we're all here in the same room to talk about, and this has happened again since then. Just the other day I had another call from a professor, and the professor was able to give the veteran and it was an online class. The veteran self-disclosed that he was not sleeping, and he had served two tours in Iraq, and so she was able to say to him, well, guess what? We have this Vet Success on Campus program. He said, you do? He had no idea. So he was very excited about that. He was excited about the fact that he could come and see a VA person and have it be 100% off the record. I don't have to write a big report or report him to the VA if he doesn't want to be reported to the VA. I'm there simply to support him and ensure his or her success on campus. So before I go off any more on there.
Also, as she was saying, I'm Kim Holden, and I'm the Women Veterans Program Manager at the VA, but also have been in the VA for about 11 years, so I've worked with our men and women veterans, so I've seen a lot. As she was saying, a lot of times they're withdrawn. Sometimes they isolate themselves. They're loners sometimes. You'll see the women, they may not even, most women do not really associate themselves as a female veteran. So you have to be very cautious of that, and as she was saying, let them know that you are a veteran-friendly professor, so that they know and that they feel comfortable coming and talking to you. We have the OEF case managers at the VA, so if you have one of the, as I call them, the newer veteran coming back from Afghanistan or Iraq, then they they can see Heather, and she can refer them to the VA, or you can just let them know that there is an OEF program, and we have two case managers in Murfreesboro. One of them's a nurse, and the other one's a social worker. We also have case management teams at our Nashville VA, so if they live in the Nashville area, it's available to them. And then we also have the vet center, which is for our combat veterans, so those that have been in Iraq or Afghanistan that are having PTSD issues or MST issues even, they can be seen at the vet center if they don't want to come to the VA itself. So,
Could you clarify what MST is?
military sexual trauma, and PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder.
Thank you.
And a lot of women, a lot of people, and I'm not just saying women, will have MST and PTSD same as the men. Just because we think military sexual trauma is more of a female disorder, men can have it also, and the men are not as likely to report it as the women are.
And in the interest of an acronym busting, Operation Enduring Freedom's OEF, and OIF is Operation Iraqi Freedom.
And we also have OND, which is Operation UDOL.
So if there's any acronyms,
It's just,
any acronyms thrown out in this, please
Feel
ask.
free to
I'm trying to catch
ask.
them and write them down. So that I can,
because I forget sometimes that I'm not talking to a VA audience, so I do forget that.
I'm a veteran student here, and I'm also the secretary of the Veteran Student Organization on campus, which is the Blue Raider American Veterans Organization. And speaking from a veteran's point of view, and a lot of times we isolate from the younger students because we don't have anything in common with them. So don't necessarily take it as you see automatically seeing somebody who doesn't really associate themselves with the rest of the class with them having some sort of issue. But we tend to find our way into a pack with our other veterans in the class. So we automatically look at each other. So if you look on the back row, it's usually full of veterans sitting there on the back row together near the door or in the L pattern, which I call it. And a lot of times we'll talk to each other about it. So if you might see somebody who starts to isolate, maybe they were more vocal in class, then all of a sudden they become less and less vocal. And if you know of another veteran student that they might be comfortable with, you might want to say, hey, your buddy seems to be isolating, and then a lot of times that veteran will be able to relate to the student that's having the issue, and the veteran will more likely respect the other veteran if it's pulled aside and say, hey, I see you in here, can you go, and then can we go to Heather together and see if she can help you, because a lot of times they're gonna feel like you don't know where they're coming from, or you can't relate to how they're feeling. So with me, it's always been finding other veteran students that are successful and they're making it and they seem to be all right, and hooking that veteran that doesn't seem to be all right with the veteran student that seems to be all right. And with the peer-to-peer thing, it seems to work out better because nobody wants to be labeled, and peer-to-peer, they feel like they're not going to be labeled because this person knows. Yeah, and a lot of times they don't want to get in the VA system because they feel like if one little blip on my record, that's going to be on my record, and if I get better, then it's going to, like a lot of people want to go into different jobs that if they do go, they're afraid to go get the counseling or get help, because if they go into this field and they have to have a background check or they have security clearances that they're scared they're going to have to lose. So a lot of times it's peer-to-peer. If you know, like a lot of the Bravo officers, I guess we need to start identifying ourselves a little bit more. We'll be able to say, hey, pull that person aside and get them to Heather without it having to go to the dean, to the school counselor, because then it's like a resentment, like, wow, you turned me in. So.
Well, right, and we would, in that particular circumstance that I just mentioned, we would never, ever say to that particular veteran, that that's what happened. We would just want to reach out, and I would probably actually talk to one of y'all and say, hey, I got this information, could one of you reach out to them?
Because a lot of times we already know each other. The veteran students, we pretty much pack, one up and just pack. And like, hey, and I don't know how I wind up in Bravo with this group of guys and their secretary. So a lot of times we just flock together because,
You do.
yeah.
You really
So,
do.
they're not really, they might isolate themselves from the younger, more traditional college students, but we're not isolating ourselves from each other. So, yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up,
Yeah.
because in that particular case too, I just so happens to have had a history with that veteran, but I'm glad you brought that up. That was very.
Could I interject?
Sure, certainly.
One of the things that I've taught and spoken at different presentations with different faculty is whether a student is a vet or not, and it sounds like it sounds a little bit like, do we need to do some detective work to figure out, if they are a vet or aren't they a vet? The bottom line is that if you have a student, if you notice a change in behavior, if you notice a student is all of a sudden not going to class anymore, or their grades have dramatically changed, or I saw a vet a little while ago who was explaining to me what types of sounds really, really freak him out. And one of them was the sound of a car trunk closing. That lower, have you heard that?
Yeah.
That lowers is like a, and so if you notice that someone is easily distressed or certain noises tend to make someone anxious, whether they're a vet or not, all you need to do as an instructor is, if you're concerned, it is up to you to decide whether you want to approach that student, and you describe, this is what I'm concerned about, and you describe the behavior. You don't have to say you seem depressed, or it seems like, things have really changed for you. You describe the behavior. I've noticed this has changed. I've noticed that you stopped coming to class. I'm concerned about you. If you want to share anything, or is there anything I can do to help, I can give you some resources. And if you're a vet, there's even some more resources so that you can actually just put into that conversation. And by the way, if you're a vet, there's even more resources. And they might very well say, oh, well, yeah, I am. Or they might say, well, I don't want to get caught in a system because I might want to in the future. Oh, okay, well, that's good to know. Let's figure out some other options. And there's lots of different options. We're all up here on this panel of different options. So I hope that helped alleviate the fact that it's really not necessarily up to you to try to figure out if they're a vet or not. If you notice a change in behavior or something that's of concern in their mood, behavior, don't label what you're wondering or concerned about, but just describe the behavior to that student, why you're concerned, and, do you think you might want to, need some resources for that? And if you are a vet, guess what? There's even some more options for you. And that way you're kind of teasing that out right then and there.
Like I'm a nurse, plus I do some online teaching, and I notice that even with my online students, sometimes if they start breaking away, and they have given me an autobiography at the beginning to let me know, a little bit about them, and I've had some veterans in my class even. So it's like, coming from that nursing standpoint, it's like you're saying, I try to label, okay, well, no, they're, maybe they've got, cardiac issues going on, or they've got diabetes or something, so I try and separate even myself from that and really look at it. She's saying there is some things going on, and like with me, I have those online resources that I can go to with my students that, I can contact their academic counselor and let them know that, this patient, see, that's my nurse in me, that this student is not, they haven't been attending class, can you reach out to them, and of course, I always try to reach out to them too. And, when working at the VA, I even try and do that, if I see a veteran in the hallway and they're wandering around, and if anybody's ever been to the York VA, you know that it's huge and you get lost in that VA. So, I'm always, patients are walking around the hallways and I'm like, hey, can I help you? You lost? And I'm usually end up, I may be heading somewhere, but I stop with whatever I'm doing and going and taking that patient to wherever that they need to go, because sometimes it's too hard to try and describe. So you kind of have to take yourself out of that realm, as she's saying, and not label them.
So I want to emphasize one thing that I heard all of you say in some form or another, but I think Mary Kay said it fast. We as faculty members are not responsible for diagnosing.
Right.
We just need to identify. Right. So we don't have to say, I think you've got this. Right. We just need to say, I am concerned. Am I hearing them correctly? So we aren't qualified to make those diagnoses. We just need to identify a need and help them to find help. And an interesting question when we were preparing for this was, do we have to wait until something quote unquote bad happens before we refer a person to Mary Kay, to the counseling services or to the VA or anywhere else in the world? Do we have to wait for something bad to happen?
No.
So,
If you're concerned, then you have to ask if you choose to. Again, as an instructor, your job is to teach your course. That is your job. It is up to you to decide if you're concerned about a student, especially if they're being disruptive in class or if their behavior is somewhat impacting your ability to do that job. But as soon as it gets to that point, you do have the option. You don't have to wait till something terrible happens, or you can be proactive and identify someone early on and say, hey, maybe way off base here, and if I am, I apologize, but I am concerned. I've noticed this, and I just wanted to check in with you. And there's students who may be like, no, I don't know.
Yeah.
And
I
that's what
think the only time you would have a duty to inform is if you notice that this person is a danger to themselves or somebody else.
Right.
Then you have a duty to step in and do something. But that's the only time.
And I think with Crystal and them, with her being here and the Bravo group being active on campus, as she was saying, they really do flock together. You've got your Vietnam veterans that flock together. You got your newer veterans, your OEM, OM, OND veterans that flock together. So I think with them here, she was saying that they're able to identify, hey, look, my classmate's not really acting right, or there's something going on, and they can actually even help step in to coordinate with either Vet Success or sending them to the VA or just pulling them aside and saying, hey, what's going on? Or did you sleep good last night? Are you sleeping? Those type things. So, and then if they even feel that it goes further, then, they can even go together probably to the instructor and say, this is what's going on. I'm here to support you. And that's the good thing with the group, I think, here on campus. And I just found out about it a few weeks ago, that I think it's wonderful that they're here and they're able to really support each other, because we all need that. Just as you're all faculty members, you support each other, the veterans support each other too.
I think that a lot of times we pull each other to the side anyway.
Yeah.
Because
Pull each
I've
other
been
by
working,
their
and I haven't been
bootstraps.
around, so I got like 6 calls, and they're like, "Where have you been, shipmate?"
Yeah.
So a lot of times they were like checking in. They're like, "We haven't seen you a lot on campus in the last 4 weeks," and so we pull each other aside a lot on our own, and so a lot of times we'll check in with each other. If I don't see you for a while, I'll check in with you. I'll send you an email or a call within the group. So a lot of times we'll even see it before I think the faculty sees it, because we know this person and we know how they normally are. And then when we see them start to pull away, then we'll say, hey, what's going on? A lot of times we'll check each other before the teacher catches it, or the instructors catch it. Yeah.
right. So to that point, I want to ask Crystal and Mary Kay, I'm going to direct my question this time. Can you give recommendations on a good way to approach a student in your class? I mean, from a student perspective and from a counselor perspective, what would be some recommendations for how to approach a student in your class?
I think the best approach is not to approach with accusation or hostility. And a good thing to do is don't try to label them or stigmatize them. Just with genuine, when you come, I think we respect them when you come at us with genuine concern about, and like she said, hey, I've been seeing this. Are you okay? What's going on? And a lot of and without the stigma saying, hey, I think you're shell-shocked veteran. No, that is the last thing that a veteran wants to hear. So a lot of times it's just asking, are you okay? I've noticed this. Do you need any help? And that's the simplest approach is the best approach. When tension and hostility gets in, then you make the person their natural reaction is going to be able to more to close off, withdraw, and then come back with a lot of tension and hostility. So, yeah.
It's nice to hear students how nice they would be to, how would we receive that? And again, I think that the key here is that you're really focusing on the student's behavior changes and that you're concerned. And that's the whole point, is that you care about the student and you want them to succeed. And that's why you're approaching them, not because they're in trouble, not because, why are you failing my class now? But more, I'm really concerned about you, and I want you to be successful. Is there anything I can do to help with that? And just to open my conversation.
So let me ask you, I'm sorry, Bill, your question.
Yeah, I have a question for the Bravo lady there. You know, I'm, as a faculty member, as an elderly faculty member, I'm assigned students as their advisor because of their major. And yet, as a, you know, a Korean-born Navy veteran, I'd be happy to know who the advised veterans who are in the business school, whether or not they're in my particular program. And we have in the, for instance, Jimmy's in the English department, I'm in the economic finance department. Just in my department, we have 3 veterans on the faculty. And I'm quite sure that they'd all, when we talk to each other, you know, like the veterans themselves do. And I'm quite sure I'd be amazed if any veteran member of the faculty like Jimmy wouldn't be willing to just also be an advisor, whether or not you have any problems, just come on around and have a chat with us. I help all the students in my program get jobs as bankers while they were in school, for example. Be happy to work with veterans.
So let me ask a follow-on question too. Sorry, Crystal, you're the only representative of the student body on this panel, so I'm going to ask you, would it be beneficial, for example, for a department to indicate these are the veteran faculty in this department? You know?
Yes, it would, because a lot of veteran students they get frustrated with their advisors because they go to them and they don't understand what we need from them. So a lot of times they just come to like the seniors or the graduate veteran students to get advice because it's a lot of, I have my advisor calls me and asks me questions when he gets a new veteran student in and he needs to figure out what's going on with his transfer or what he needs to do. He calls and asks me questions. So and if they have to wait for him to get a hold of me as being a senior and having been here a while to figure out what to answer their questions, then it does get frustrating. So that would help if we had advisor that was specifically veteran centered, and because they would have more of the answers that the student might need. So I think that would be an excellent idea. We have been asking the school for a military center director that was particularly responsible for just veteran students, their issues, getting them into the class they need, because the veterans have a graduation success rate of 68%. That far exceeds what the schools. So if you get more veteran students in here, the graduation success rate will skyrocket at MTSU. But a lot of times it's the tenacity, the drive that we have in ourselves and figuring it out and navigating ourselves. But it would be excellent if we had advisors that were veterans to help us navigate. You know.
So that is
Well, I'm just saying, if there are veterans,
Can I put, I'm Chris McCusker from History. We draw a lot of veterans because they come to us wanting to understand their experience. Put it in historical and geographical perspective. So I've got a guy from Boston in one of my classes, or actually my classes. I have a woman who is a veteran who was wounded in the first wave of Iraq. And they laugh at me because I marched in my first peace march when I was 5 in 1970. So I'm supposed to be the bad one of the department, supposedly. And they come and talk to me because what they had done very well, and I would stress this, what they've done very well is educate me. And so even though I don't have a military experience, I understand the political context of their experience, and especially since I teach our post-45 U.S. history class in the department. But also because what they've done, and it's been a profound gift to me, and I was undergraduate director for a long time, is that they said, okay, this is what I need from you. And if you don't know the answer, and I said, I don't know the answer, but let's figure out who does. So the issue is not whether, maybe it's a little broader, it's not whether there's somebody who served in the military, but who is willing to walk the path. Because we have all sorts of students who come with issues, and what my students have done very well. I've got one guy from the first Iraq War, my guy from Bosnia, I've got two guys from Bosnia. I've got guys who are active in the military right now, and then my MIC who I'm holding her hand as we get through this, this sort of thing. And she's just, okay, this is what I need from you, doctor. And that's cool. And that's been really helpful to me too, is, because you shouldn't have to, you shouldn't be the expert on campus. You got to have homework, for God's sake, and that wealth should be spread. I would hope. It's something that we've done.
I feel that way. It's like people ask me all the time when I do outreach events, they say, are you a veteran? And I said, no. I said, but I feel like one because I've worked in the VA for so long. My dad was a Korean War Navy veteran. I've had veterans in my family, so I feel like a vet. And, I don't know.
No,
it's
I'm
like
not, but I love the way
I
you
love
put that it's a profound gift that you have been educated by the veterans that you have known throughout your life, and that's a really wonderful way to put it. That's how I feel.
I mean, because I feel that way. I've got friends I've got a friend of mine that's, she's actually the OEFOF nurse case manager here in Murfreesboro, and she spent, 35 years in the VA. I mean, when it comes to navigating the VA hospital, I go to Libby because she's been there for so long. I have another friend that's been there 20 years, but actually is a Army veteran herself. It's like I go to them sometimes because I'm like, okay, well, I've been in it for 11 years, but I still don't sometimes know how to navigate that. So even though I'm like you, I'm not a veteran myself, but I love my vets, and I'm willing to learn that. And I think that makes any of us a much better, well-rounded person by doing that.
Okay, I have a follow-up question along that line. How can we as faculty be proactive, and I guess the corollary to that is, what's the limit of being proactive? Where does proactive stop and we're now intruding? Would that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Where's that line? We need some guidance.
I think when a person chooses to self-identify, then they invite you in. I wouldn't push people. A lot of people, once they get out, they don't want anything else to do with it. They're done when they're done.
I'm saying, I don't care if you're a veteran or not.
Yeah.
How we be proactive to address the needs of students?
Students in general, how do you be proactive? I think that just make yourself really, truly, there's people who say they're available, but then there's people who are really, truly available.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you need.
So I think when you make yourself available to students in general, they tend to come, because there are professors that if I have an issue, I'm at their office hours because I know that they'll be there when I get there. There are faculty that have office hours written, but they're not actually at their office hours when you show up. So I think that when you say you're available, because veterans will go to your office hours. This is the thing, like they'll go to your office hours, and if you're not there, when they go to them, they're not coming back. Right. Because they're very time specific. If you say you're going to do something, or you're going to be somewhere, when you say you're going to be there, if you're not there,
You have no trust.
It's a trust issue. Yes, I can't trust you to be where you say you're going to be when you're going to be there. So.
And there again, I think it's probably because the veteran population is a little older. They're not your 18, 19-year-olds that are fresh out of high school. So they've been out in the world. They've seen things. And so they have that, what's the word I'm looking for, that drive, that determination, that initiative that they're willing to, be there. If you say you're going to be there, you're going to be there. And if not, then as she said, it's that trust. They lose that trust. Whereas, an 18 or 19-year-old, the professor's not there. I'll come back later, or I'll never come back, and I'll fail the class or something. So,
would it be helpful if faculty members do? I have a website, and every course is outlined, and I do put down my office hours, but I statement right there that says, here are my office hours, but please call me before you come because I might have office hours right now when I'm at this meeting instead. Call before you come so we can be sure to be there to see you, because I don't would hate for, in fact, not just a veteran, any student come. And when I'm at a meeting like this, for example.
Well, I know like myself being an O-line instructor, I mean, I don't have set office hours, but I give my students my cell phone number and I say, call me, you can call me at any time. If I don't answer the phone, because I don't recognize their phone number, so I say, leave me a message and I'll call you back. I had a student last night that called me at 8 o'clock at night. Because she had something that she had to post in the Dropbox, I called her back and I said, okay, this is where you need to post it. So I know I do that, and I know you probably all do that too as professors. So, and I don't know if that helps y'all as students, or I say email me, either catch me by email or, call me and I'll call you back or I'll email you back if I get your email. Maybe text. No, I'd rather them call me because sometimes I can't understand what they're wanting to text me.
I'm saying about giving out, going as far as having to give out your personal phone number, because I don't think that's an expectation of most students. As the student population in general, I don't think that I expect you to go as far as giving me your personal cell phone number to call you at 10 o'clock at night when I feel like, no, I think it's about, as far as veterans, because I can't relate or speak for a traditional student because I've never had that path. So I don't know what the 18, 17, 19-year-olds are doing because I didn't take that path into college. So as an older student, a lot of times I have to adjust what's going on in my life to even get here for office hours, or I'll shoot an email saying I'm going to come to office hours, or I had other veteran students that have shoot and they shoot an email but they don't get a response back to confirming that, hey, you're going to be here for your office hours. Older students in general, we have just a lot more going on. I have a job, so I have to usually work 8 hours a day and then come here and do my 12 course hours at night. So a lot of times I'm adjusting my work schedule, which is similar to a lot of non-traditional students get here for office hours. Or I'll shoot an email with a question, and I'm not expecting an instant response, and most students aren't. We're just expecting a response within a reasonable amount of time, and I know that faculty here, email is kind of like all in water. So, and a lot of times we're emailing because we can't usually get here during the traditional student hours. So.
Yeah, I have a question about confidentiality. I do know that this is a big issue that I've talked to students and recommended that they go, for example, to VA, and they're very resistant because they, as you pointed out, they don't want to take on records. I also had a student who's currently on active duty who clearly needed some assistance. He would not go to VA because he didn't want them to find out that he needed counseling. So I did refer him to the counseling office if he could go there and receive some assistance. But you had made in your comment the fact that you have confidentiality. How far does that reach? Could we reassure students that if they go to you and talk to you, that you in fact don't have to report to the VA?
But the other part of that question too is that we're bound by FERPA, and I really don't understand how FERPA works with this particular. I would love to get our vets and say, look, I need you to check in with so and so, but I don't. But FERPA forbids me to talk about grades. And so what we're seeing, one of the behaviors you're seeing is a decline in grades. What do we do? And FERPA stops us from doing anything there.
Can you address that about FERPA? Or, sorry, Jeff, I may not pick on you, but this is exactly what we need to figure out is how FERPA affects our ability to refer.
So what is FERPA?
The
Federal Education License.
Family
Yeah.
Education License.
Similar to HIPAA at the doctor's office, but for
I
education.
knew there was a reference to parents, but I didn't know what that was.
It's anybody other than the student. It's the best way to do
Baffles me, what the hell is purpose?
it.
Here, not only, and I'm just going to jump in for a second because the way I understand it and the we have gotten around that in terms of veterans. If veterans are receiving educational benefits through either post 9/11 GI Bill or vocational rehabilitation, then I am able to, actually one of my initiatives right now is to reach out to veterans who are at risk for academic probation or for veterans who are slipping grade-wise. And the way we've gotten by that is because the VA is paying for their educational everything, tuition, books, and fees, and especially if they're folk rehab, then I am able to see their information, and I do reach out to them and say, hey, because 90% of the time, if a veteran's doing poorly academically, it's not because they don't have the smarts. It's because they've got other issues in their lives that are causing them not to do well in school. The veterans I have reached out to, I've gotten nothing but positive responses from them. So that's how we get around it as far as vet success on campus. It's probably totally different.
But your contact with the veterans, that, all of that is confidential, you don't have to report any of it to the VA?
I do not.
You don't have to report anything to the government?
The only thing I report to the VA are numbers, branch of service, and basic, like, no personally identifying information whatsoever.
And it's important that when you distinguish VAs from the Vet Success Center on campus,
Yes.
the first thing you don't want to do is say, I'm going to send you to the VA.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very good
Make
point.
sure that you separate the two, because
That's a very
in
good
our minds, it's two totally different things. And an active duty person actually can't go to the VA because they're still active duty. So if they get reported, they get thrown in their chain of command, and their commander or their commanding officer finds out about it. So if that person was active duty, they don't have benefits at the VA, so they can't even go to the VA counseling. They would have to go to their base medical.
And go to the vet center.
Yeah,
They
and
can't
the
go to the
they
vet
can't go to the vet center, which is separate. Yeah.
I'm
but
so
it's
glad
active
that you
duty.
said that, because I've even
Yeah.
caught myself, I am
Yeah.
a VA employee, so I've caught myself even saying VA. That's such a good point.
That they'll be more susceptible to it. And I think that why the resistance you got was because you threw it out as VA.
Right.
But if you would have said, hey, go to the KCU, to the vet
But he
center.
could have gotten assistance, the military would have provided him one for some kind of assistance, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
that's a big
Yeah.
but, so that's the reason why he didn't want to do that.
And most people, when you say the VA, let me explain this, and Heather may back me up on this. I always explain the VA. When most people, when you say the VA, they think of the hospital.
Right.
The Veterans Hospital, the Veterans Healthcare Administration. The VA is one big umbrella, and then you got spokes down from it. You got the VBA, which is the Veterans Benefits Administration, which is who she works for. The VHA, which is the Veterans Health Administration, or the VA Hospitals, which is who I work for, and then the VCA, which is the Veterans Cemetery Administration. So you got three spokes under that umbrella. And most people, when you say the VA, do you think of the hospital? You think of the hospital.
If
You
I
don't
tell,
think of-
yeah, if I just tell anybody off the street, I work for the VA. Oh, are you a nurse? Are you
Yeah.
a doctor?
Yeah. So it's like you have to be able to understand that to really understand what we're talking about the VA. So when you said VA, patients are going to, or patients, they're veterans, sorry.
You're gonna run
it's like
the other direction.
Veterans are going, yeah, they're going to run. But if you say, Vet Success or the Vet Center, which is in Nashville, then
Okay,
they're,
now can you explain to me what the difference is between the VA and the vet center?
Yeah, the vet center is a subsidiary, so to speak, but they're not directly under VHA. Am I right about that? Yeah.
Right. It's what kind of service do you do?
Counseling to combat
veterans.
veterans.
And you have to be a combat veteran. So they give counseling, they don't.
So if we would refer someone to you, you would then know that and be able to get them to the vet center.
Sure,
That's where they
sure.
would go.
I can provide services to any veterans regardless of combat veteran or non-combat veteran. And so can the OIF, OEF caretakers through VHA. But the vet center only is combat vets. That's kind of
But like if you referred someone to Heather and she saw that they needed more counseling than what she could do, and she would probably, and they were a combat veteran, and she would refer them.
If
probably
they
to
want
that.
to, right, right.
Can we go back to the purple question? I know you were.
Well, actually, no, I was not going to talk about FERPA, but another tool that faculty can use is the Academic Alert. Veterans are one of our monitored populations.
Right.
And that is on all the time, and it's monitored all the time. So if you are starting to notice some issues before it even gets to the point where you might want to talk directly to the student, please feel free to use that to report any types of behavior or grade changes or anything like that.
I would advise against that because the veteran, I would advise you go to the veteran first because we get those alerts too. And we go in and check it, and then it creates a sense of hostility between the professor and the veteran because it feels like you're turning me in. You're turning me in. So, yeah, because we get the alerts, and first we were getting them and we didn't know what they were. Like a lot of freshman veterans who came in, they were like, I got an academic alert, and we had to go around and explain to you just what an academic alert, so it upset them a lot. So if they just go in and anonymously key this alert in and put that in there, and then you were even creating this wall between you and the veteran student. So I would go to the student first before I would key in an alert, because they're going to get that alert, and then they're going to go in there and check it and be like, why didn't you say something to me first?
Well, if the
They're
instructor,
not kids, they're adults, so they
but
want
if the
to
faculty doesn't know that that person's a veteran, they're going to get it
That's
regardless.
right, and that's the way that we monitor them for attendance too. So it's important for us for the instructors to do that academic alert.
So that affects their
That's the
benefits.
only other way we know that we have to do it.
If it's an attendance or a grade issue, but not a counselor, this person on your side with their personal behavior.
And they'll be more like if the student said stop attending class.
Yes, yeah, that's
You know.
the standard. Even if I was just not a veteran, I would expect that. Yeah, but as far as using the alert for you seeing a change in behavior, yeah.
No, I was, if there was a grade issue, I would go ahead.
Yeah.
So we have about 7 more minutes, and I want to get to the hopefully a situation we don't encounter very frequently. But if we have a quote unquote crisis in the classroom, I'm not even going to define that. We have what you consider a crisis as a faculty member. Can you offer recommendations on how to address that? I'm just going to say how to address it. How can we address it?
You mean if somebody's you feel that somebody's gonna hurt themselves or someone else?
That would be a
that
crisis. I mean, there's others, like,
We've been hearing this a lot. In fact, one person that couldn't be here today contacted LT9TC to talk about that. They felt like they are seeing them in their classrooms as well.
Or even the situation you were describing where a student was being, as you described, bullied by another. It was diffused in that situation, but it could have escalated into something more. Offer some suggestions how we give me some tools, put my toolbox so I can pull it out when I need to and address the situation. How can what would be the recommended procedure to follow in a situation like that?
I think obviously, I'm sorry, and please jump in, but obviously if it's somebody's there for you.
I mean, there are panic buttons in the classrooms, in a lot of classrooms. Everybody aware?
There are a few classes.
There are some panic buttons.
I wouldn't say a
But,
lot.
you know, as far as I'm concerned, I hit the panic button, there's still a time delay between that and some help arriving. So I need to have a tool or two to use in this situation.
There's a panic button in my.
I can report, have you not used that thing?
That's funny.
Panic button? Nobody ever told me that.
Well, don't hit it unless you need to.
It's in a blue box. You gotta be kidding me.
Well, I can't answer that question. I know what we do at the VA, but, we call it code purple, but.
Somebody send us a memo with a picture of the. And how often does, as a senior faculty member, I'm 76.8, if I had 2 students harassing each other, I'd take them outside and stand them outside in the hall, or private place and say, what's up, what's happening?
I'll give you an example. I had a vet, a self-identified disabled student services vet, PTSD, 4 years in the Marines, 6 years in the Army. We were under a tornado storm once. That's a crisis for somebody who has PTSD.
Right.
Now, I knew to check in because I got hit by the big thing a couple of years ago, and I knew to check in with them because I have my own issues with it. But that's an example of a crisis that we would potentially have to handle in these classrooms.
Right.
To give it some, because the question's a great question, it's a little big, so let me
Yeah.
give you that as a
Yeah, okay, all right. It's just, it's a huge question to answer. Marianne? Like, I want to know from a school's perspective, school counseling perspective, what you would say, and then I can tell you from a that success on campus counselor / VA what I would do. I would tell you to call me immediately, and I would, if, I don't have, the VA will not give me a cell phone, but I have no issue giving out my personal cell phone in issues like that. I'm still fighting that fight, by the way. I'll get a VA phone.
Can't tell, are you frustrated?
But see, I mean, I'm also trained in crisis counseling, so that would be, for VA, that would be I'd want you to call me, and I'd want to come out and try to help diffuse that.
I guess my take on that with your specific example is everyone deals with stress, panic, anxiety, PTSD in their own unique way. And I think if that's the type of situation that were to come up, you might want to approach that student and say, what have you done in the past that's helped you get through something like this? And it might be, I call my boyfriend, or it might be, I just need to help me breathe, just help me focus on my breathing. I would tend to think that this wouldn't be the first time it ever had happened to a student, and so there has to be some techniques that they've employed, some coping mechanisms that they've used previously. And sometimes all you can do is help remind them, you're going to get through this. What have you done in the past? And to just maintain being calm, and that it's going to be okay. This is just a moment in time. You're going to get through it. You've gotten through these other times before. And to just kind of coach them through that. But again, every person has their own ways that they cope. So what have you done before? You want to call someone, let's do that. If you need to go get a drink of water, if you want someone to walk with you. Those are the types of things. But when a person is being disruptive to class, and you're not sure, is this a PTSD, is this some kind of reaction, the best thing that I can advise, and this I think Laura has kind of helped me frame this, is that all of you have a syllabus that you hand out at the beginning of a semester, and if you can document what your code of conduct is in this classroom. And again, I'm going back to behavior. If your behavior does not meet this code of conduct, then I'm going to have to ask you to leave the classroom. You have the right to do that, and that is what you need to do in that situation. It's hard to tease out, is this a mental health issue, or is this just a behavior, immaturity issue, or that's not your job to figure that out. Your job is to teach your class, and if that is interfering with your ability to do that, then they need to leave the classroom.
Can I interject one thing too? Like, don't call us. You see the size that we are. If somebody's hostile, like I'm with counseling, assistant director of counseling, there is nothing I can do against a big veteran to help you. What I do, if they get upset in our office, is that we call our police department, because they are so excellent at de-escalating the situation. These guys they're wonderful.
They are.
And we could not do our job at counseling if we didn't have them to back us up. People do get out of control. We may have somebody that's out of control and even hostile. But those guys walk in with their uniforms, and the energy falls. And that's available to you here on campus too. Like Mary Kay and I would love to come, but they would take a look at us and just push us aside.
Right.
So, yeah.
And a lot of times, if I would be happy to come, but I agree with you. Why don't we get, if it were a case such as that, let's get the police and, a trained crisis counselor together. I think that would be the best case scenario. But these guys are great. I've had to use them just once, and they were so, I mean, you would think that they were therapists as well as police officers,
I mean, and we basically, in a sense, do the same thing that y'all are talking about, even at the VA. We call it a code purple. I mean, if someone is having a psych issue or a psych episode, we call it code purple, and it's basically to show of force. It's, you've got usually 2 or 3 people from actually the psych unit, unless it's on the psych unit. You've got 2 or 3 people from there. You've got a couple of the psychologists, psychiatrists that are there, and then usually the security shows up. And there again, as you were saying, I mean, even when I worked on the med-surg unit over here at York, it's like I had a code purple a couple of times, and it was like, as soon as that police officer showed up, that veteran started backing off.
And let me add one other, to close this, because we are out of time, but I want to add one other comment. A couple of years ago, if you recall, we had shots fired on campus. That particular day, at that particular moment, I happened to be teaching a class in the Business Aerospace building, all that. Okay, so, campus alert at the email system, of course, all of my students, I should say a number of my students were getting this campus alert that shots get fired on campus. They got quite agitated rather quickly, and on top of everything else, I had a guest speaker. So I'm watching my guest speaker talk on, and I'm looking at all of my students' faces, and I understand what's going on, so one thing I can advise you as a faculty member in this situation, the most important thing is to keep yourself calm and keep the students as calm as possible. Number one priority, keep yourself calm. If you are not calm, you're not going to be able to handle the situation. You've got to stay calm. One thing I can say for veterans in particular, and I think most students in general, is if somebody looks like they are in control or have responsibility, they will look to you for a cue to how to behave. So it's very important that you keep your demeanor calm so that they can stay calm as much as possible. That was an interesting experience. I'll share. But nevertheless, we are out of time. I do appreciate everyone's coming. Once again, thank you, Dr. Fisher, for providing the refreshments. And I'm certain that folks, don't forget the books back here if you would like to have a copy of the poetry that's been written by our veteran students. And we can stay a little while afterwards and have questions.
Yeah, we didn't get to the FERPA question. I'm Jeff there. I'm in the legal department. If anybody wants to stay and talk about FERPA, anything from what is it to what can I tell the DA, stick around and I'll talk.
Yeah, you too.
It's federal law that says you can't take your students or your education. Any education information.